Hello guys, welcome back. It's Logical as always, and today we're going to be doing a tier list for the axes. Now, there is a few things that we need to step into first. Obviously, is the move set. That is going to be one of the biggest things that we're going to take a look at, because as far as I'm aware, there is 4 separate move sets for the axes. So, of all the move sets, what you have is you've got the hatchets, the axes, the blades, and the cleavers. Each of these here have different move sets, different heavies. Basically, they're completely separate weapons, bar their category, more or less. They're all axes. It's just their actual move sets are different, and their weapon styles are different. All of these things will be taken into consideration. All of them will be taken into consideration in the tier list, move sets and things like that there, as well as AR and actual just general use cases. So this is what the tier list is going to look like. So it is, you've got your S, A, B, and C tiers. Now, obviously, there's one major outlier here in the middle of all of this here, and that there's going to be the Ripple Blade. I will explain that there once we get to that position, but this is how I feel each of the weapons do perform on said builds. Obviously, if we use them on dexterity, quality, or dexterity strength builds, probably would get different results, but as it sits, all this here is done on a level 125 build, so it can't really use everything at its max potential. So it isn't, this is just sort of the bog standard, flat out baseline of the weapons. So it is, but this is how I would see this tier list going. So at this point, you are free to click off the video. You've seen what you've come to see. I'm going to go into the breakdown now of all of the tiers and the weapons that are within those tiers. So I'm going to go through and break down all of it and give you my reasons and thoughts to why a weapon is in said tier and so on and so forth. As says, these things can change with different builds, and as well as that there, these things can also change with future patches as well. So let's get straight into the breakdown. So first off, we've got C tier. So the first weapon we've got in C tier is the Rose's Axe. This weapon comes with 618 one-handed damage and 659 two-handed damage, but keep in mind that this damage is split between physical and magical damage. It is one of the, I think it's the second highest AR in the game, or for the axes. It's the second highest AR for the axes, but it is split damage. That's where the problem comes from. It comes with a C scaling in strength, a D scaling in dexterity, and a C scaling in intelligence. It does come with a unique weapon art of the Tibia Summons, which is incredibly difficult to land. As far as I'm aware, if you do land it, it is a true combo and you can land an awful lot of damage with it. But because it is still a unique weapon art, it comes with a lot of drawbacks with it. The problem with the unique weapon, this unique weapon art, is it is incredibly slow and does leave you quite well open for damage. It is C tier because it doesn't put out as much damage as its AR would imply. Following that up, we have the Sacrificial Axe. Now, the Sacrificial Axe, there is one key point I have missed on this weapon, but I will get to it. The Sacrificial Axe, its damage one-handed comes in at 514, and its damage two-handed comes up to 560, making it a pretty strong weapon in its own right. Next up there, it comes with B scaling on both strength and dexterity because it is on a quality setup for this, and this is the AR that has been given. It does come with a swap weapon art, which allows you to be able to rotate whatever weapon art you want to be using at that time. The problem, the major downfall for this weapon is its incredibly poor range. But it does have a PvE effect of whenever you kill an opponent, you do refresh some FP. This is technically useless as we're going to be using it in PvP, and this is a PvP tier list. So it doesn't come with an actual beneficial side effect, but it does come with a decent AR. It's just the problem with it being is the fact that it does lack in its truest form of its range and damage. Following that up, we have B tier. So next up we have the hand axe. It comes with the hatchet moveset, meaning it is incredibly powerful for its R1 spam capabilities, but as far as I'm aware, it also comes with one of the lowest ARs. Now, the reason why I put this up against I put this ahead of the Sacrificial Axe and the Rose's Axe is the fact that it is substantially better at being able to mow down opponents with a faster moveset. It does generally come with a faster moveset, so it does, and it is substantially stronger at roll catching as well. Its one-handed damage is 464, its two-handed damage is 507, meaning that it does come in at the low end of the damage, but in saying that there, the moveset does make up for it. Comes with a B in strength and B in dexterity on a quality setup, as well as it comes with a swap weapon art, which allows it to have much more versatility as well as offensive potential. Next up, we have the Ice Rind Hatchet. Now, this is another weapon that does come with the Hatchet moveset, but unfortunately, previously it did get nerfed into oblivion quite early in Elden Ring's lifespan. So it did. So, one-handed, it comes with 471 damage. Two-handed, it comes with 492. It's still on the lower end of the spectrum, but then that there is also because it does come with the 65 points of frost build-up. So it does, which does give it a little bit more offensive potential, so it does. It comes with a D in strength and a B in dexterity, which means that this is technically a dexterity weapon. Its unique weapon art is of course Hoarfrost Stomp, which again has been nerfed into oblivion. It does come with the Hatchet moveset, which does make it quite substantial and quite good. But the problem of it is the fact that it's the same problem that a lot of the frost weapons do deal with, is the fact that all the weapons that do come with inherent frost do tend to be somewhat weaker in terms of overall potential. There is nothing particularly to brag about this weapon. It was strong once upon a time, but unfortunately it is a shadow of its former self. So following that, we have the Celebrant's Cleaver. It is in B tier because it is completely outclassed by its older brother at this stage, so it is. But let's get into it. It comes with 490 damage one-handed and 535 two-handed, which means that it is one of the harder hitting axes in the game. It comes with a B scaling in both strength and dexterity on a quality setup, so it still comes with a good bit of damage. It does come with a swap weapon art, which means that you can throw whatever you want into it for your own mix-up potentials. Obviously, if anybody has watched any of my axe videos, I am quite fond of Beast's Roar, so I am. Now, in saying that there, where the actual cream of this weapon is, the cream of the crop for this weapon style is its heavy attacks. Its heavy attacks is our forward running heavy attack, obviously, but it is fantastic at roll catching and fantastic at dealing damage, and its R1s is just a pure cleave their head off moveset, so it is. In saying all that there, unfortunately the Celebrant's Cleaver is unfortunately outclassed in this circumstances by a weapon later on in the list. The last weapon for B tier is going to be the Battle Axe. The Battle Axe is going to be your standard. It'll be your base standard for your axe class weapons, so it will be. So its damage is 502 one-handed and 548 two-handed. Comes with a BB and scalings, obviously, for a quality build. It also comes with a swap weapon art. So it does. So this weapon sort of is your baseline for all of your axe class weapons. So its damage does become inferior to the later weapons. So it does. So that is why it does drop down. It doesn't hold anything particularly unique to the weapon, bar it does have better range than most of the weapons that we have covered thus far. Other than it having exceptional range for its class, it does still fall quite slow. It has no fear factor to it. It still falls off because it still doesn't have the damage to back up with that range, if that makes sense. So time to cover the gap tier, which is going to be, it's not quite A tier, but it's not quite B tier. It's kind of somewhere in the middle whenever the circumstances are right. And that weapon is none other than the Rippled Blade. This weapon is unique in many ways, so it is, but quite confusing in many ways as well, so it is. So its damage comes at 525. This is with a 60 arcane build, might I add, so it's a pure arcane setup. It does come scaling in S in arcane, hence the reason we have made a pure arcane build for this weapon. I have said standard weapon art because it comes with the Wild Strikes weapon art, which is not a good thing, but it's not particularly a bad thing either, so it isn't. Now, in saying all of this here, the reason why I have made this sort of gap area for it is because when it can be buffed with your different resins, so it can. Not particularly your damage resins, but your affliction resins. So, whenever it is unbuffed, it is a B tier weapon because of its damage and moveset, but it is an A tier weapon whenever you consider it being buffed. When it's buffed, it has substantially more versatility, especially whenever it comes with sleep. You are able to sleep your opponent quite easily and quite quickly if you're using it, or if you really want to be toxic about it, you can run either Scarlet Rot or Poison on it, or even worse, Bleed again. All of these buffs do make the Ripple Blade a lot more dangerous than it is given credit to be, but that is also the reason why it is in this gap tier. Moving on to the A tier weapons. First of the A tier weapons is the Forked Hatchet. So this weapon comes with one of the lowest ARs, but it comes with a massive fear factor of having bleed. Bleed cannot be underestimated. This is why this weapon is an A tier, but unfortunately it is outclassed in terms of damage whenever you get up into the S tiers. That is why it is down here. So at 421 damage one-handed and 460 damage two-handed, it is definitely one of the weakest, but in saying that, there is potential for this weapon on a dexterity build, and you should look at that there if you really do want to know. As it says, I will be making a new tier list once everything has been solidified, so to speak. Comes with a B tier in strength and dexterity, so it does, meaning that it does work quite well. Comes with a swap weapon art, which means that you are able to add whatever you want for mix-ups if you do so want, and comes with a flat 50 bleed. So if you catch anybody in an R1 spam, they're going to suffer for it. This is the reason why this weapon has been put into A tier, is the fact that it does come with that fear factor and it has the bleed associated with it. If you catch anybody in a trading session, they're going to hurt a lot more than you are. Last up for A tier is the Jawbone Axe. This is a beastly weapon that you do need to take a look at, so it is. Its damage one-handed is 517 and its damage two-handed is 564. Comes with a BB scaling, obviously for the sake of it being a quality build, and comes with a swap weapon art. Use one of your own choice. The one thing that makes this weapon heavily unique is the fact that nobody ever uses it, so they never expect the damage that this thing can actually pump out. Now, if you were to actually put this on an actual designated strength build, I'm nearly sure it might be able to outdamage the Warped Axe, but because nobody knows about it, nobody ever tries it. The main catch to this weapon is more the fact that people are very skeptical about the damage that this weapon is actually capable of pumping out. So it is a trading machine. It may not have a fear factor whenever it comes to bleed or poison or anything out there in terms of status effects, but its raw damage output is definitely something to be feared. On to the S tier weapons, the cream of the crop when it comes to your axes. So first up for the S tier, we have the Highland Axe. This weapon is beastly beyond compare. So it is, with the right setup, this weapon is a behemoth to be feared. So it is. So one-handed, it comes with 502 damage, quite weak. And two-handed, it comes with 548, again, not great, especially in comparison to some of the other weapons that are in S tier. But in saying that, it comes with BB scaling and a swap weapon art, and the weapon art you're going to be wanting to choose is Beast's Roar, and that is because this weapon gives you a bonus damage to roared attacks. And again, if anybody knows me, I use Beast's Roar all the time whenever it comes to axes to give the short range a bit more range. But to just add to how dangerous this weapon can actually be, it comes with a 110 crit status, so it does. Which means if you land a parry or a backstab, they are going to feel it. It is not just going to be a tickle, they're going to suffer from broken ribs. So they are even simply roaring at someone, death by breath, is going to hurt. This weapon is scary beyond all belief, and it has the bonus advantage of having exceptional range for its classification of weapon. This weapon can be terrifying in the right hands, so if people start using it, guys, for the love of God, be careful, because on the right setup, this thing will absolutely hurt you. And now we have the Iron Cleaver, aka the Celebrant's big brother. More damage, just more damage. That's it. Same moveset, just more damage. It hits harder, it's stronger, and by God, whenever you use the R2 attack, it hurts. One-handed damage is 519 and two-handed damage is 569, meaning that it does surpass the Celebrant's Cleaver in raw damage, so it does. Comes with a B scaling in both strength and dexterity on a quality build. The problem with it being is it is not much of an increase on a quality setup. The one way you're going to use this weapon is on a strength setup and get that big beefy scaling. So it is. This weapon is an absolute beast. So it is. Comes with a swap weapon art, which means you're going to be using whatever you want. You can use what you want when you want, and trust me, you're going to hurt people with it. So you are. The Iron Cleaver is by far one of the best top tier weapons in the axe category. Another weapon that you're going to need to fear is going to be the Stormhawk axe. Sorry for my gibberish coming out. At 549 one-handed and 597 two-handed, this weapon does come with a substantially beefy AR by itself. It comes with a C scaling in strength and a D scaling in dexterity, meaning that this weapon is going to be substantially better on a strength build. In saying that there, you do have the unique weapon art that it comes with. More on that in a second. And said weapon art also doubles down as a buff, so it does add an extra lightning damage to the weapon, bringing its AR up to 534 one-handed and 682 two-handed, which means that this is indeed the highest AR weapon in the axe category, meaning that it is terrifying to get smacked by. But what makes this weapon genuinely terrifying is the fact that its weapon art, even though you do become stationary, if you connect it correctly, it is a guaranteed 3-hit stun, so it is. Which means that you can pump out an awful lot of damage if you use the right setup. This weapon is flat out terrifying in the right hands, and that is why it is in S tier. And lastly, for S tier, we have the big, we have the beefy, we have the warped axe, the hands down potentially strongest axe in the game on the correct setup, aka using it on a nice big beefy strength build. Its damage is 539 one-handed and 593 two-handed. Comes with a BB scaling in both strength and dexterity on a quality build, and it comes with a swap weapon art. Use your own choice of weapon art, so it is. That's all I have to say, due to the fact that this weapon's raw damage is absolutely terrifying. Using it on a strength build or a strength build primarily, thank you very much, will give this weapon an S in strength, and just simply using it two-handed just to beat down on your opponent with 60 strength will be absolutely terrifying. I don't have my strength build yet, but this is one of the weapons that I will probably keep an eye out on due to the fact that of its raw damage. Also with it having a pretty solid moveset, but it is unfortunately a little bit slower than expected. It doesn't make a difference. This weapon has the AR to back up anything you want to do with it. It is a terrifying weapon. And there we have it, the final tier list of the axes. I finally managed to get this damn thing edited because damn, this thing took a while to do. But yes, this is the tier list. If you have any complaints, any arguments, anything you want to say, comment down below, and hopefully I will see you. And if you enjoyed the video, hit it with a like, and please subscribe if you want to see more. I have more than enough content on my channel for Elden Ring, and I have more than enough content coming out. So guys, I'll see you all in the next video.